They have wedding dresses from like the 1800s on busts in this room, mannequins and black and white wedding photos.
It feels like one of those stories where like if you take the photos in that space, you become part of the exhibit.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like you just be frozen in time. And then
now
it's
you're
like,
there.
You are listening to the Shoot Your Shot podcast with Lindsay and Tim. Trigger warning. This episode contains conversations that include ghostly figures, haunted wedding venues, and spooky tales of love. You must subscribe to ward off all evil spirits. This is your final warning.
welcome back to the Shoot Your Shot podcast. This is the spooky season. If you don't already know from watching on YouTube, we're everywhere you want to be. This is the radio call-in podcast where myself, Timothy Muza, and fellow photographer Lindsay Coulter answer your portrait and wedding photography questions, mishaps, takes, ideas, thoughts around business and developing better photos. Not literally, but being like a more robust, rounded human being when it comes to being a photographer.
Having a nice life that is fun and enjoyable and profitable.
Let's do that.
And then you get to be creative. That's a fun job.
So this is the podcast.
Wait,
Welcome.
Should we address the elephant in the room?
Ooh, what is it?
That you and I are in costume.
Well, it's Halloween. It's Halloween week. And we feel like our favorite shows growing up in the 90s were all sitcoms geared towards, young adults and children. And they all had like Halloween and Christmas episodes. So we leaned in.
So we're here.
Yeah.
So Tim, tell the listeners what who you're dressed as today.
Well, one of my favorite movies is Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. So I'm dressed as one of the crew members from the boat.
Literally so niche.
It's pretty good, right?
No one's ever been this niche for Halloween.
No one ever gets this costume. Like,
I can't imagine why. Nobody's ever seen the movie.
People have seen the movie. It's one of his best. It's Bill Murray. Come on. It's one of the best movies he's ever made.
Totally. Everybody watching is like, yeah, totally, Tim. We're going to go and watch that now.
It's worth it. It's a really good time. And you're dressed as some kind of rat? What are you?
I'm a mouse. Duh.
Mickey Mouse.
I'm
Minnie
dressed
Mouse.
as Minnie Mouse.
Yes.
Well, actually, here, wait. I'll show you.
Okay.
1 second. I have to unwind for this.
Okay. All right. I'll describe the outfit as she stands up for our audio listeners. Oh, my goodness. She's dressed in a cardigan that is red with ears that are shiny like the disco ball, and on her back is Magic Mickey playing with the stars and moon. Speaking of the moon, that was some friggin' moon last night. I woke up at 3 o'clock, looked out the bathroom window, and I saw my backyard was illuminated incredibly so. So much so that I was inspired to have a morning sauna. So I got up and I started the sauna, and
You're a better person than I am.
I don't know
today.
about that. I just had an easy
Tim and I are having the opposite kind of day. The full moon invigorated you, and then the full moon, I have a charging pad for my phone.
Yeah.
And 2 days in the last week, it has not charged my phone.
Ew.
And I'm like usually an early riser, but I have been going at like full tilt for the last couple of weeks. So if my body wants to sleep, it's going to sleep.
Yeah.
And today it slept in until 8 a.m. And we had agreed that we would be here at 9. I said 9:30.
I was here at 9:01, so I was also
You were
late.
here at 9:01, and you were late, totally.
Totally late.
But we had very different mornings. My morning consisted of a mad dash to try to shower.
Yeah.
And I attempted to shower, but it was roughly at the same time that Taylor was showering. And our secondary shower is currently filled with painting products.
I was going to say, don't you have two
because
showers?
I'm still freaking painting.
Do you have the thing where, like, I don't know if this is still a thing because it's 2024, but like you have so much water in the hot water tank, and once it gets used up, it's...
You would think that.
Okay.
And no, that's not the case anymore. And I
That's
don't know
good.
if it's just we live in a building, so our hot water tank is massive.
Okay.
It's not like shared. I know that for a fact because
Yeah.
one time our hot water went out, and it was early days of us living there, and I called down to like the building manager, and I was like, do we like share a hot water tank with the people on our floor because we don't have any hot water? And they were like, no, the hot water's off right now. You're fine.
Oh, okay.
But like he looked at me like I was the dumbest person. So I'm glad that I'm not.
Well, you're not. It's one of those things I grew up understanding
From the
and knowing.
90s.
Yeah, and then also now we have a tankless hot water heater, which is magical. So
and if you
infinite
were in
hot
the
water.
shower and somebody used the tap in your house, you would get a frigid
You'd
blast.
feel it.
Which I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't understand. I mean, I'm not a plumber. I don't understand.
Don't know why it's
how
all connected that way.
happened.
That feels like it should be not gray water connected. Why are we doing that?
It doesn't make any sense to me. But
No.
anyways, that's the kind of morning that I had. And then
We're not plumbers.
our floors are getting replaced. You guys were in the
So
home
exciting.
stretch. The floors
exciting.
are being replaced in our bedroom today/tomorrow. Like today and tomorrow.
Yeah.
And the contractors are so funny. They're like, yes, sometime on Thursday. And I'm like, listen, I love you so much. Could you give me like a 3-hour window?
Yeah.
So, because Taylor has a wedding today.
Uh-huh.
And honestly, if you guys are listening to this as wedding photographers, you get it. When you have a wedding, you are useless to your friends and family that day. It
Pretty
doesn't
much.
matter like how many years you've been at it. Taylor's been doing wedding photography for like 20 years practically now. And no matter how long he's been doing it, he is absolutely dead to me as a person. Well, I think I'm dead to him actually as a person.
We're all dead to our loved ones when it's a wedding day.
You're just so laser focused.
Yeah.
But then I'm waking up with like 5 million things that I have to do. And he's like, yeah, so I got to shoot a wedding today, so I can't really help you with anything.
Yeah.
So anyways, I'm so proud of you that you had a sauna. That's such a
so
healthy
lovely.
way to start the day.
It was really nice.
And
That water
your
was
calming
cold.
energy
Oh my
is
God.
beginning to rub off on me.
Well, I'm happy to do it. Happy to be here for that.
And listen, we have some exciting stuff coming up today.
Yeah.
We
Speaking
have-
of calming energy, let's let's turn that dial way down and get into some spooky stories.
But
to,
before we do that, what are we going to do, Tim?
we have to roll the magic 8-ball.
Get
And
out
I
of here.
Totally forgot until you just mentioned
No,
it.
you
So
didn't.
I did.
Yeah, you did.
I absolutely did forget. So every episode we start off eventually by rolling the magic 8-ball. Last week we did one about the full moon, which is a day after recording this one, so still very fresh in our minds. But I think we should focus something to do with the end of one season and start of another. That feels appropriate.
Oh, I like that a lot. Yeah, as we leave the fall,
Yes.
as we leave the spooky,
We transition
and
to
we
the new season.
and we go into cold fall
Cold
/
fall.
warm
Boo.
winter, which is
Nice.
interesting. So as we leave October and we
Yes.
move into November, are we going to have a nice time?
Will the times be
Will the times be
real
enjoyable?
nice? Let's see if time will be nice. Let's get general. Don't count on it. Good. So
I've been waiting for that to happen where
Shit.
we ask like, are we all gonna have a nice time or is this gonna go well? And
I
then
really
the 8
think
ball
it-
just says like literally nah.
I think it's like it's over us asking stupid questions
think
at this
so.
point. So that's its way of saying try harder, do a better question next
Do
time.
a better question.
I'm gonna read 2 stories today.
cannot wait.
2 of which I kind of sourced from the net around weddings.
The net.
Spooky. Calling it
The
the net.
net.
And then we have another one from one of our longtime listeners describing a horrific 6-day experience. So we're going to get
Is
into
that one last?
We'll do that in the middle. We'll bookend
Okay.
it.
Okay, I like it.
Spooky
Okay.
story. Story from
Friend
our
of the
friend.
pod.
And then back to a spooky story.
Okay, let's roll.
Let's jump into it right now. Here we go. Oh, no. Here we go. So I have to plug in the laptop here. One moment, please.
All right. Well, how's it going, you guys? This is Stanley. I call him Big Stan.
How many of those do you have?
Just this one.
Okay.
I'm not a collector.
Okay.
Like, I don't like a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's
I
fair.
used to like a lot of stuff when we first got like our own place, like when I was just like, but a wee thing.
Yeah.
And then you realize how challenging it is to get rid of stuff.
It's very tough.
And now I'm getting really good at getting rid of stuff. And it's really nice to have like space in your home that isn't just filled with every color of Stanley water bottle.
I've seen Kelly showed me a photo of some woman. I'm assuming it's a woman. Could be wrong. Has like a wall, like a bookshelf wall.
We're talking
of
like
every
this woman's
color.
got $2,000 in stands.
Yeah.
I just really, I'm a one-woman show. I've got one big stand. He's purple.
Good for you.
My interesting thing about this for our listeners, I've got a purple Stanley water bottle. This one, do you see what's happening down
Oh,
here?
yeah.
Is someone from Stanley watching this? What's going on, you guys? How did you make an $80 or $90 bottle that chips like that?
Don't know. That's a
did.
horror story. In and unto itself. Let's get into the first spooky story. It's called The Haunting of Baker Mansion.
I can't wait.
The Baker Mansion, located in Altoona, Pennsylvania, has long been a site steeped in eerie legends, particularly revolving around the ghost of a bride who never got to walk down the aisle. The mansion was built in the mid-1800s by Elias Baker, a wealthy ironman, as a symbol of his family's prominence. The grand home was filled with expensive furnishings and lavish decorations, but the opulence couldn't conceal the heartache and drama that unfolded within its walls. One of the most enduring and chilling stories revolves around Elias's daughter, Anna Baker. Anna was the youngest of the Baker children, and by all accounts, she was headstrong and independent. Despite her family's wealth, she fell in love with an ironworker, someone far beneath her family's station. Anna's father, known to be controlling and tyrannical, was outraged when he learned of their romance. He forbade her from marrying the man she loved, insisting she choose someone of a more suitable social class. Devastated, Anna was heartbroken. She never married, and she spent the rest of her life in the mansion, becoming increasingly withdrawn and bitter. Her wedding gown, which she had chosen in anticipation of the future she was never allowed to have, was locked away in a wardrobe in her room. After Anna's death in 1914, strange occurrences began to unfold at the Baker mansion. The most famous tale surrounds the wedding dress itself. The gown, displayed behind glass in Anna's old bedroom, seemed to take on a life of its own. Visitors and museum staff reported seeing the dress move inside the case as if it was swaying or trembling, despite no drafts or airflow in the room. Some claimed to have seen a ghostly figure, believed to be Anna herself wearing the dress, wandering through the halls of the mansion. People have also reported feeling a deep chill and a sense of sorrow in Anna's room, particularly near the dress. Others have heard unexplained footsteps or soft whispers late at night. According to local legend, Anna's spirit remains restless because she was denied the one thing she wanted most, a life with the man she loved. Some say her ghost lingers forever, trapped in her grief and longing, unable to let go of the wedding day that never was. Even today, visitors to the Baker mansion often feel an unshakable presence in the house, especially when they stand near the dress. It seems that Anna Baker, in life and death, has never fully left her beloved mansion or the memory of her lost love.
Wow. Tim.
Yeah.
You're such a great storyteller.
Thanks, bud. I used to, it's funny you mentioned that. I used to, part of my after school duties was like reading books aloud to my mother, which sounds very like Bates Hotel, but like
it does.
We also did like flashcards when I was a kid to like learn words and like letters and stuff. And she used to make me
literacy
read
is
books out
important.
loud. It was super important. That's probably why I'm a good reader.
Yeah, literacy is really important.
Super important.
No, that's great. Speaking literacy,
Mother?
we're just like
Mother wouldn't let me eat until I read at least 4 chapters of whatever book. No, it was just like novels and stuff I wanted to read anyway, but she made me read them aloud, and I think that helped. You know?
And now here we are.
Yeah.
Wow. How do you feel about that story?
Well,
that's crazy.
It makes
the
me...
moving dress.
The moving dress, right? Behind
Why is the dress still there? Is it a museum now? Like, what's the deal?
To her life, I think. I think they were just a prominent family, and
they've left it, like, actually, like that Walker Museum that you and I just shot a wedding at in September in Kincardine.
There were a lot of weird artifacts everywhere.
There were, so we shot this wedding
shit.
at this venue called the Walker Museum. It's in Kincardine, Ontario. It's right on the water.
Yep.
And it would have been, I presume, like a prominent family that lived there.
Yeah.
And now it's like a historical museum that documents what life would have been like in Kincardine over the years. And one of the rooms... This is what it was making me think of, dude.
That's what it thought.
One of the rooms was a wedding themed room that showcased what weddings would have been like in Kincardine over the years. Yeah. Our bride got ready here, by the way.
We didn't know about this room until we asked the caretaker. The caretaker sounds like
proprietor.
The proprietor, the staff member who mans the phones and the desk. Can we go upstairs and like take a poke around and get some photos upstairs? And they said,
we're just trying to find some nice light.
And the bride knew about this room, and we were just like, you know about this bridal?
It was the
room?
haunting.
It was fucking horrifying, dude.
And I love Tanya is such a fun bride. So she was like, you want to take some pictures in here?
I'm like, not really.
I have like video of this like very spooky, like they have wedding dresses from like the 1800s on busts in this room.
Mannequins
and
just standing.
Mannequins and black and white wedding photos. And
It
And
feels like one of those stories where like if you take the photos in that space, you become part of the exhibit.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
just be frozen in time. And then
now
it's
you're
like,
there.
oh, that looks like my granddaughter. Like, yeah, because it is.
If it was Are You
Yeah.
Afraid of the Dark, she would literally
Oh,
get like
big
just
time.
stuck there,
Yeah.
and then the whole episode would be Tawny trying to get out
Yeah.
of the Walker mansion.
Ugh.
So back to the Baker mansion.
Yes, ma'am.
Where is that located?
Altoona, Pennsylvania.
Okay. Do they do events there or anything? It's just
I
like
don't know.
it's just
I
a
didn't dig
haunted.
further.
You
Yeah,
were
no.
just digging for
I just want
haunted.
some spooky stories.
Tim's like, I'm losing the plot entirely on these being wedding venue or wedding related. He's just looking for a spooky story, and I love that.
Some wedding stuff.
It was a wedding story. Yeah. No, I love that. So her wedding dress haunts people, and as it should.
Yeah. Do you believe in that poltergeist thing where like ghouls and ghosts and other things can like haunt an object that you take with you?
Absolutely not. No, that's not for
They're
me.
tied to people, they're tied to places, or tied
That's
to
the
things?
devil's work. I know I
Okay.
told you last week I
Interesting.
don't believe in the devil,
Yeah.
but I think that that
He's alive and well in Pennsylvania.
I don't think that he's like, no, I think that she wasn't like enchanting items. She
Okay.
probably just comes and like rattles the dress to be like, LOL.
Just fucks with it. Yeah.
I mean, if she's around.
Yeah.
Or it could be somebody totally different. It could be somebody else that died on the property that just thinks it's a funny story to like trick people.
If I was dead on the property, I'd just mess around with that too, because that's a better story than whatever I did. Groundskeeper Tim.
Of course. Oh yeah, he chopped off his arm while he was cutting the hedges that one time,
Do you
and
know
like
where-
it's not a good
Do
story.
you know where the history of like getting photos of the dress hanging on a wedding day came from? Like, what trend started there?
I don't
and why
know,
does
but-
it always look like a
But if
ghost?
there is a death, I would hope that the next death that we see is of the photos of the dress hanging, because oh my gosh. And I try to tell my clients, like, for sure I'll do it. Like if you're getting married in a place where there's a beautiful spot to hang a dress, then
Yeah.
let's do it, of course.
Yeah.
But let's not try to force a thing to happen just because it's a check it off a list kind of
Yeah.
situation. If there is nowhere nice to take the dress hanging photo where it actually looks like, oh, that's a photo, like that's a proper photo.
Yeah.
And like we'll go to great lengths to make something like that happen.
Hang out a window if I need to.
But like
Safely.
if it's gonna be ugly and backlit from this like crappy window, like I'm not
Here
really
for it.
seeing the point.
No.
We've been to some like really crummy little hotels where this is an absolute hack if you haven't discovered this one as a wedding photographer. At crummy hotels, and I shouldn't speak so ill of these hotels, but
fine.
if you are getting married in Cambridge, Ontario, there's a bunch of really crummy hotels, and they're not bad to stay in. They're just
No.
bad to photograph in.
They're not great photographically. They're more geared towards like kids who have hockey tournaments, basically.
For sure. The
And
kids
for
can
good
run
reason.
around the halls,
Yeah.
and they're cheap and cheerful. They're not actually cheap anymore. These places are all expensive. Hotels are crazy money now. But like basically either you're getting married at Langdon Hall or you're getting married at you're getting ready at Langdon Hall or you're getting ready at a nice Airbnb or at home or something.
Yeah.
There's not really a lot of other alternative
No.
like nice-ish hotels.
Right.
So what we generally do is that there's a sheer and then there's a blackout curtain, and you pull the blackout curtain all the way open, and then you pull the sheers closed, and then using the things that the rods that you've pulled the things shut with, you can hang the dress, the top of the hanger through the sheers, the hooks.
The holes, the pinholes, whatever those are.
And
the eye
listen,
holes.
that's not a photo anyone's going
garbage.
to use.
No.
Let's just take detail photos of the dress on the human
Looks better
body.
that way
Like
anyway.
it's just such a strange thing to me. So that's the death that I hope occurs next. But no, I don't know the history of why we take photos of dresses. I think it's just we are probably tasked with the job of taking photos of things that matter to people on their wedding day, and the dress is a big one.
Yeah.
I don't know. Would you? What are you gonna wear for your wedding?
Not a dress.
No, I was like, are you gonna wear a white pantsuit, or what are you thinking?
I like the idea of wearing a white suit. It kind of seems kind of dope. I just know I would spill chocolate and stuff like wine all over it. Chocolate. Just gonna eat chocolate.
What in the world?
Just a Toblerone bar, just chewing on it. No, I like
I'm
the idea of
grossed out.
I like the idea of wearing a white outfit on a wedding day. I think that's wonderful. I don't know if I could pull it off, but I think it's a cool thing because I don't know when else you get to wear like a white tux. You know?
Are you gonna do an outfit change? You don't know anything about your own wedding, so why are we talking about outfits?
I do.
Like, is he getting married in this country? Is he getting married this century?
We have no idea.
We don't know. Is Tim gonna have multiple dresses?
What would be very appropriate for myself and Kelly's, every time I have like a shirt that has like a hole in the sleeve or something, this is very performative. It's a lot of fun, but it speaks to our relationship, and it just reminds me that she's still in love with me. I'll like grab that hole. I'll get her attention. She's on the couch usually, and I'll like rip it off like the Hulk and make like weird sound effects. And it makes her laugh
your
every
wedding
time.
day, you're going
like if it's
to...
socks, I'll just like make eye contact and just rip the socks off my body because they're garbage and they're falling apart. And so I think if I was to do a costume change, it would involve some kind of tearaway aspect. Just because I feel like that's appropriate for our relationship. You can judge all you want, but it's not your wedding day.
I'm not judging.
Your eyes? Let's see those eyes again.
No, what I was thinking was,
tear off a bunch of clothes on my wedding day.
This is just proof that there is a
lid for every pot.
Lid for every pot.
Yeah.
And Kelly's your lid.
Yeah.
And you're the pot doing tearaway pants at his wedding. And I love that for you. I do. I think it's great. No, I'm not judging it. You hear me say every day, I wish people would just do weddings that make sense for them. And if you're going to wear fucking tearaways, you're going to wear tearaways.
The look on your face. Go back 10 seconds, everyone.
Literally.
It looks like I showed you a box of dead kittens.
Because I'm picturing you walking into a room.
No. This is later in the day.
No. At home. I'm not talking about the wedding. I'm not judging the wedding. I'm judging you on a random Thursday when she's like watching a TV show, crocheting. She's crocheting on the couch and you walk in and you make eye contact and you just rip your shirt open.
It's
I'd be
so
like,
satisfying.
First of all, why do you have so many holes in your clothes?
I buy a lot of shirts and they I'm assuming there's moths somewhere in my home. They're just
like, I don't get holes in my clothes at all.
Really?
Like, at all. I can't tell you the last time I had holes in my clothes. So the fact that you have so many holes in your clothes that this is like a bit.
With like little rips right here in the armpit, and I'll be like, oh, okay. And
that's crazy. I guess men's t-shirts are, you wear them like they get worn more.
I have like 7 or 8 white t-shirts now. They just get washed every week and I just wear them every day.
Yeah, you do wear them literally every day. So that's the thing. I think I just don't wear my clothes like
as much
through that much.
Yeah.
I do wear like the same sweater every day for like 3 weeks straight, and then I'm like, I should wash this.
Yeah.
But I don't think that I like rip my clothes apart. Anyways, thank you for the haunting of Baker Mansion.
The next time you have an outfit that's a little bit, I urge
I'm
you,
gonna
even if it's just
Incredible
alone
Hulk it
in your room, just like
Incredible Hulk it.
Tear it off your body. It's the best, most satisfying feeling. It feels rebellious. It feels like you shouldn't be doing this because everything in life has taught you not to destroy things for the most part. But like, it's so satisfying. I was never a destructive child. I was never like the kid like bashing monster trucks together. I was very like quiet and like I played with Lego and I built things. So having this outlet as an adult to be like, oh, I can buy a new shirt. I will just rip the shirt.
Rip this one off.
It's very
I love that for you, Tim.
So, thank you.
I think that's so exceptional. You're gonna come back and haunt your mother by just reading books to her in her sleep.
Mother.
Well, hopefully you're not haunting your mom. I hope the natural order of things. Anyways, let's move on to the next. Let's move on to the next. This is a podcast listener submitted story. I'll read this one for you.
This is a podcast.
This is a podcast, and you guys are so annoyed by us today. I'm always annoyed by us, to be honest.
I think we're great.
I'm going back to the last episode, which, by the way, I feel sorry for anybody that listened to the unedited version of that episode from a few weeks ago when I said it is so effing annoying that we have a podcast, or so effing embarrassing that we have a podcast. But Tim started out the episode with what I thought was a just convo we were having before we were starting the episode, and Tim just slam cuts into the biggest F-bomb. So I apologize if you were listening to this in your car with your children, or you're just easily offended.
If it bleeds, it leads. That's what news taught me. Let's read this story here.
I'm going to read you this next story. I had a 3-day. Oh, sorry. Let me start out. This is from Sam Rundle. Hi, Sam. Thank you for submitting this. I had a 3-day destination wedding, and after the final day, I had to travel from the mountains to the city in the middle of the night to catch a flight. But when I got to the airport, it was closed until 4 a.m. I found an Airbnb to charge my gear and take a quick shower. I figured there was no point in sleeping with just a 3-hour wait, but of course, I unintentionally dozed off while sitting up. My flight was at 6:31 a.m. and I woke up at 5:58.
Oof.
I scrambled for an Uber, dashed through the airport, and made it to the gate just as it was closing. Stressful doesn't even begin to describe it. I finally got back to London. I was going to say at the beginning of this, I should have been saying this in a British accent, but I don't want to offend Sam.
No, he doesn't mind. Maybe.
I finally got back to London thinking I could relax, only to hit 2.5 hours of traffic on the motorway. Despite everything, I managed to make it to the bridges. To the bride's prep 15 minutes earlier than I needed to be. I brushed my teeth in the venue bathroom, changed, and then shot 2 more wedding days back to back.
Wild.
That's right, 6 days of shooting across 2 countries. Sam has a much nicer accent.
Yeah,
I have like a very Cockney meets North London, and I'm so sorry.
It's Australia for some reason.
We did go Australia there. In my defense, I was up front with my couples and I had a second shooter on standby in case anything went wrong. Good for you. I think this experience taught me just how far I can push myself, but I'll never do it again.
Yeah, that's a bit of a horror
Wow.
story for me.
So it was even more horrific based on my terrible accent. Sam, oh my gosh. So you had a 3-day destination wedding, and after the final day, you had to travel from the mountains to the city in the middle of the night.
Woof.
When you got to the airport, it was closed until 4. So, okay. So you got to the airport at like, say, midnight or something like that.
Yeah.
What airport is closed? I guess it was in the mountains.
It was in Switzerland. I remember his stories.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I was like, where?
Yeah.
Like small airports or whatever.
Yeah.
So you like catch a quick nap and wake up and you're like,
Oh,
LOL,
time to
I have to
go.
go back because I have 4 more weddings. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Honestly, the cortisol level was rising in me as you were describing it, because we've had some bad travel days.
Oh, yeah.
But thankfully, I've never had a travel day that surrounded weddings.
I have had one, but I wasn't working the wedding. I was the MC.
Oh.
Yeah, so my flight got bumped the night before from New York coming back into town. And I arrived like that morning, basically, and like got home, showered, put on a suit, and then Ubered to Whistlebear and was the MC for my friend's wedding. So
Oh my
it was
gosh.
very stressful, but it was fun.
Yeah, like, I mean, Sam, you nailed it when you said, like, in my defense, I was upfront with my couples. Like, they knew that I had a ton going on and that you're not in control of the plane.
Yeah.
Right? Like, sure, if you had just missed your flight, I think that probably wouldn't have gone so well, but you could have probably gotten out of that one.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I've had a close flight where it was kind of planned this way, where I had to fly from Nanaimo? Yeah. Nanaimo. In Vancouver, Victoria, British Columbia, to Calgary, and then Calgary to home for a wedding the next day. I shot a wedding in Tofino, and then that night at like 4 a.m. basically, after I had to leave my hotel on the beach, drive 2.5 hours. There was like construction. They were like tearing apart half of the mountain and on the island.
God.
So I was like stuck. I'm like, this
couldn't have been me.
Be happening.
Couldn't have been me.
And I got there with like 2 hours to spare, thankfully. So I did the math. I made sure I had enough time, but like it was stressful because also I didn't control the airlines. Like you said, I didn't control or know when or if things would get delayed, how much they'd be delayed. Am I delayed by a full day? What's going on? And again, something you'd tell your couples. I told my couple, like, this is very close, but this is happening. They're like, okay, it's cool. I'm like, I have someone on standby.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, anytime I've ever been like close, I would say I'm usually only close with like engagement shoots or family sessions, because the stress is just not really worth it for me to be close on weddings anymore. But I will tell them, just so you know, I am traveling beforehand. So like, I will let you know if for some reason the night before my flight gets canceled or something. But for weddings, it's just too stressful for me. That's why, honestly, why Taylor and I used to travel to Vegas so much. People are probably like, wow, these two have a gambling problem. No, it's because we were shooting like 50 weddings a year, which meant that we were shooting Friday, Saturday, Sunday a lot of the time through the year. Yeah. And then you'd do that again the next week. So if you wanted to go somewhere through the week, we were like, where would be a fun place that we can go for like max 3 days? Nobody ever wants to be in Vegas for longer than that. And also, if all hell broke loose, if the airport got permanently shut down in, McCarran or whatever, and you're like, what are we going to do here? You could drive
4 hours
to
LAX.
LA.
Yeah.
You could even fly from Las Vegas to LA if that was an option, and then fly out of there.
Yeah.
It's just that there's so many hubs. Like New York's another one that I'll go to for a really quick period of time during wedding season, because I know A, I can drive home from New York.
Yep.
B, I can almost always get from New York to somewhere else.
Yeah.
So actually, one of the closest ones, this was not a wedding, this was a destination wedding story. So Taylor came and shot a destination wedding with me in Dominican,
Okay.
like 6 years ago or something like that now. And he had to be back home because he was hosting a huge event here with Nick. And so it was when Taylor was making a show called Nick and Taylor Make a Food Show.
Yeah.
And they made their own mini food TV show on YouTube. And the like penultimate episode was going to be them actually hosting a thing where they cooked and hosted a bunch of people.
Taylor took all the knowledge he learned from like all the different things we shot, and then he put them to use in a real life kitchen for guests who showed up.
Yeah, like at a restaurant, and people were going.
Terrifying.
And we were both supposed to be there. Obviously, we were planning to leave Dominican and then get there.
Yeah.
And there was a huge ice storm in Toronto.
Yeah.
Huge. It was a huge ice storm here, but we were flying into Toronto, and we were in Dominican, and we were sitting at the gate waiting, and we just kept getting delay. And then we kind of made the call, like, I don't think that this flight's going to go.
No.
Taylor got a flight to Ottawa because the ice storm hadn't hit Ottawa yet. So for those of you that aren't from this area, Ottawa is about an 8-hour drive, maybe 6.5, 7.
Yeah.
It's a long drive from where we live,
to be a problem.
especially if it's in an ice storm.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have a car there either, right? Because our car is in Toronto. So he was like, how can I get to Ontario from Dominican? Because we're currently on an island. And how do I get to Ontario, basically, was his first thought.
Yeah.
So he flew to Ottawa, took the train from Ottawa to Toronto.
Yep.
And then I'm pretty sure he picked up our car in Toronto.
Oh yeah.
And drove it home. And then I must have taken an Uber or something, or maybe we drove separate as possible. But regardless, we ended up getting home within 2 hours of each other, and I stayed over in the Dominican that night in a hotel. And I was there with the whole wedding party. Like that's the other hard thing, is that like when travel goes south and you're literally down south with an entire wedding party, like Taylor and I were the only experienced travelers in that situation. So we're literally like coaching people on how to like handle this and like, oh, if you have to get home, here's what you can do. And anyways, it's not a thing that I would want to do. I would not want to do that one more time. Even.
No, I don't wish this on anyone, Sam. That's a wild story.
Yeah.
I followed a little bit along when you were doing this in the summer, when you were traveling between these locations in Europe, between Switzerland and then the UK. It was wild, man. I was worried for you. It's a bit like our friend Jacob, who does this fun roulette thing.
Oh yeah, where he just shows up to the airport like within like 20 minutes of the flight.
Like he's not through security, he's not through anything. He's just like, well, we'll see what happens. I'm like, these are international flights. He's flying to the States or elsewhere.
Calgary Airport's pretty nice though.
You need to go through customs, my dude. What are you doing? He calls it airport roulette, and it's insane, and I hate it. So
there's a certain amount of risk that I'm willing to take. And obviously, Sam, we agree. We'll never do that one again. Love it.
Sam,
okay.
Got another spooky story here. This one's based in Canada. It's a Canadian venue for weddings.
I'm so excited. We've shot here.
We've been here.
It's so beautiful. Okay, let's roll.
Let's do it. The ghost of Fairmont Banff Springs Hotel. Why is this playing?
I love that you're laughing already. You haven't even started.
The ghost bride of Fairmont Banff Springs Hotel. The Fairmont is not playing music. There we go. Ooh. Here we are. Back into the mood. The Fairmont Banff Springs Hotel, often called the Castles in the Rockies, is a stunning luxury hotel nestled in the heart of the Banff National Park. Its grand, imposing structure is beautiful, but it has been also home to many ghostly legends over the years. The most famous of these is the story of the Ghost Bride, a tragic figure whose spirit is said to wander the halls of the hotel to this day. According to local lore, the story dates back to the 1920s when a young couple planned their wedding at the Fairmont Banff Springs. The bride, dressed in a flowing white gown, was preparing for the most beautiful day of her life. The grand staircase inside the hotel was adorned with flowers and decorations, ready for the bride to make her descent. As the bride stepped onto the staircase to make her entrance, something tragic happened. Some say that her dress caught one of the candles lining the staircase, causing her to lose her balance. Others believe she simply tripped on the hem of her gown in a moment of nervous excitement. Whatever the cause, the bride fell down the stairs, her life cut tragically short on the very day she was meant to begin a new chapter. Since that fateful day, many guests and hotel staff have reported seeing a ghostly figure in a wedding dress gliding down the staircase or wandering the hotel halls. The apparition is often described as a beautiful bride still in her gown with a look of sorrow or longing on her face. Guests who encounter her say she appears briefly before disappearing into thin air, leaving behind a chilling sense of sadness. One of the most famous sightings occurred when a hotel worker cleaning the bathroom late at night saw a bride fully dressed dancing alone in the center of the room. The worker, confused but not immediately frightened, approached the woman to ask if she needed help, but as he drew closer, she vanished before his eyes. In addition to her appearances on the staircase and in the ballroom, there have been many reports of the bride in guest rooms, particularly in those located near the area where she is believed to have fallen. Guests staying in the rooms sometimes report hearing soft footsteps, feeling cold drafts, or even glimpses of the bride standing in the shadows of the room, only for her to fade away when they look closer. The Fairmont Banff Springs Hotel has embraced its haunted history, and many visitors come not just for the luxury and scenery, but also for the chance to encounter the famous ghost bride. Though her life ended tragically, it seems her love for her groom, or perhaps the shock of her sudden death, has bound her to the hotel forever.
Wow, another good one. Honestly, that one was my favorite because we've been there and I've been in that ballroom.
You've
and
seen?
It feels haunted.
Okay.
Like it feels
spooky.
Like there's going to be ghosts dancing. It
like
feels
in The Shining.
Feels like at Disney World.
Okay. Haunted Mansion?
And when you're going by and it's like a candlelit dinner party.
Yes.
And there's ghosts all dancing. That's what that room feels like it should be. Do you know that there's many ghosts at the Fairmont Banff Springs?
I believe you.
Yeah. Room 837.
Oh.
There is significant paranormal activity.
Okay.
So when we've stayed, like I refuse to stay. I'll literally put like do not put me in 837.
Oof.
Because has been significant paranormal activity. The legend has it that an entire family was murdered in their hotel room in room 837. So don't stay there.
Don't do that.
That's not a good one. But yeah, I love the Fairmont Banff Springs. It's
beautiful.
Like it has so much history, obviously, so much charm. Tragic. Can you imagine dying on your wedding? I mean, it's so long ago. What a buzz. I'm like literally like,
check,
what?
please.
I'm like, what wood is there for me to knock on? Please do not let anything tragic happen to our clients.
There's wood
it
there.
would be
there you
terrible.
go. Hit that wood. Thank you so much for listening, tuning in for this spooky season of Shoot Your Shot podcast. If you have any questions, comments, ideas for things you want us to talk about on the show, please reach out to us at the Shoot Your Shot podcast on Instagram. Again, looking forward to the next season. The giving season. We
cannot wait. We are so excited. We will see you back here next Monday. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I'm Lindsay Coulter. This is Timothy Muza, and this has been the Shoot Your Shot podcast.
Happy Halloween!